You know, in every party you have two sets of elections. One set is that is conducted to elect leadership of the party from branch to national. Then when we enter next year, the second set of elections will be electing candidates that you are going to sell during the general elections. Okay. So there are two sets of elections.
Presidential, but also parliamentary?
Presidential and parliamentary primaries. And that one is the subject of the Supreme Court ruling. The ones we are engaged in now are not affected by the Supreme Court ruling, because that is the party as a group deciding how they will select their leadership. So it has nothing to do with the rest of the population. I believe the people who went to Supreme Court were motivated by the fact that even though the presidential and parliamentary primaries start within the party, the product becomes national officers. So if you elect a candidate for presidential and he eventually becomes the president of the republic, he becomes president for everybody. The same way, if you elect a parliamentary candidate and then he gets elected by the general population, he becomes a statesman for the whole country. So the argument was that if that election is going to result in electing statesmen for the whole country, then you must try and make the beginning as democratic as possible. That's why they sought the intervention of the Supreme Court to make sure that at least every member...
You support that position of the Supreme Court?
Well, we have no option. But let me say that it is an experiment NDC had done before. NDC was the first party to go into this universal membership suffrage in 2014. We did it successfully, but there were challenges which we needed to address. The party was divided as to whether we should address the challenges, perfect it and move on, or we should scrap the system. In the end, those who held the view that we should scrap it and prepare and come back later carried the day.
Were you one of them?
No, because it was my initiative to democratize as much as possible the presidential primaries. And I was happy about the outcome in spite of the challenges. And I thought that the challenges were things that were not unsurmountable. So if they gave us some more time, we could have addressed all those challenges so that in 2018, by now the system would have been perfected. Because we lost the 2016 elections, people tended to heap the blame of our losing the elections on the way we selected the candidates. And you know why? Because the delegate system provided opportunity for the delegates, those are the executives of the party at various levels, to earn something. So they were resisting the introduction. Okay, so eventually when we lost the election, and they were the people whom the Professor Botwe team went around to consult.
Yes.
So they just said that, oh, it's because of this that we lost the election. So they came very firm about it that we should scrap it. I didn't find the argument at that time very reasonable. But you know, when you have lost elections, anybody can put any blame on the cause of your losing. So I said, okay. So we scrapped it, and 12 years now, the whole nation is now compelling us to go back to do what I had introduced 12 years ago. If we had stayed on course, we would have perfected it now and taken advantage of its advantages. But It's not too late. It's something that...
Is 1 year though, the Supreme Court give you 1 year to implement this. Is that enough?
Yeah, sure, we can do it.
1 year is enough?
We can do it.
Okay.
Because already we have our register. The most important thing in such elections is the register. If you get a correct register, then you are good to go. The rest is, it is costlier than the delegate system, because in terms of printing ballot papers, registers and all that, you print more, you spend more on printing of ballot papers, because the delegate system, you would be printing about less than 400,000. But with this 1 man, 1 vote, you are in excess of 1 million to 2 million ballot papers. Again, 2014, we opened polling booths in every electoral area.
Okay.
And we had 6,000 plus electoral areas at that time. And so we opened the 6,000, and there are certain electoral areas that are made up of clusters of villages. In that case too, you have more in the villages, so that you don't ask people to travel. And so we ended up opening more than 8,000 polling stations. And Electoral Commission took the view that this was a private election whose costs must be borne exclusively. There are certain electoral areas that are made up of clusters of villages. In that case too, you have more in the villages, so that you don't ask people to travel. And so we ended up opening more than 8,000 polling stations. And Electoral Commission took the view that this was a private election whose costs must be borne exclusively by the party. So every polling station, the Electoral Commission recruited about 4 polling officials. And we had to pay them and pay all the cost of the materials, everything. So Electoral Commission didn't contribute 1 cedi. And so in the end, in those days, we spent close to 14 million.
In 2014?
2014. So this time it's going to be more. And so my expectation is that even though the system is good, since we are being compelled to help citizens exercise their civic and democratic rights, it sits very well if you ask the state to budget for this exercise, so that Electoral Commission can conduct it free of charge. If that can be done, Electoral Commission can conduct it.
Because that will be your biggest cost line, the EC.
Yes. If they can conduct it free of charge, then it will help every political party. But again, I've heard people saying that to demand that Electoral Commission should conduct it free of charge will mean that everybody will get up and form a political party and call on the Electoral Commission to go and spend money. And that is why in NDC we have proposed the setting up of an office for the regulation of political parties.
It is actually in the government position paper on the constitution.
Precisely. So once that is, if that is done, then you have a body that will focus exclusively on making sure that before you certify a group as a political party, it satisfies all the conditions for a political party. You need to organize that group in more than 2/3 of the districts in the country. And they must have offices and so on.
Can I walk tomorrow to any party office and say I'm going to pick up a party card and pay my due?
Right now, because we are doing the internal elections, we have closed the register.
Okay.
And so unless we finish. But when we finish, we will now have to take a decision whether we are using the same register for the presidential and parliamentary primaries, or we will open registration to allow those who were not up to the voting age as at the time we were closing the register, but have now attained that age maybe to put in their name. That is a decision that will be made by the party itself.
And so you are confident, speaking as the national chairman, that the NDC will implement this prescription of the Supreme Court in a year?
We don't have an option. It
must be done.
It is the law. So
because the MPP takes a complete different position, that this is not practical.
No,
the
they are not caught by it. It's practical. We've done it before.
Forward, they believe it.
We've done it before. But people are confusing these current internal elections that are ongoing. But the ruling doesn't affect the internal elections. Truth be told, if they had directed that we should apply it to these internal elections, it is going to be very cumbersome. Because in the primaries, presidential and parliamentary, you have one position each. So several people are contesting. So when you are printing the ballot paper will be for one position, and then you list the various contestants on the ballot paper. Now, when you come to maybe the National Congress or constituency elections or regional elections, you may have as many as 28 or 30 positions. And each of the 28 or 30 is being contested by several people. So, if you want to apply the one man, one vote to that type of election, then you may have to do 28 separate elections. So if you are doing for constituency chairman or regional chairman or national chairman today, then your ballot paper will contain the names of the contestants for national chairman, and then you vote. Okay. But if you want to combine all of them and conduct the election in one day, either you have to get a ballot paper with 28 sections, each section containing as many contestants as have filed. You see, so the ballot paper will be maybe 12 feet long. The first one, chairmanship. Then you put all if there are 5 people contesting as chairman, you put A, B, C, D. Then you come to vice chairman. Then you list them. Vice chairman number 2, you list them. Vice chairman number 3, we have 5 vice chairmen. Then before you get to general secretary, then you list the number. After that, national organizer and all that. So if you want to put all of them on one ballot paper, it will be about more than a meter.